This is my second time trying to record a video on my thoughts on November and just how I can incorporate that into my practice. The first time I recorded this video was actually on, uh, I think it was on Monday. So when I watched it today, it didn't seem as I don't know, it felt like I had a deeper meaning when I was thinking about how I'm going to incorporate this November, and just sort of the themes in my own practice and what I need to just do for my own self care and my own intention work. And also the sort of imagery and concepts from magic that I want to incorporate into that. So, obviously, the election happened. Um, and we had not as high of a voter turnout as one would have thought. There was about 46% of Americans who did not vote. So, I don't know, you pretty much can do a mail in ballot. It's super easy. But I digress. I'm not going to get overly political, but so we had our our election. Um, and it really brought home some of the concepts that I was thinking about when I was thinking about November, because my original video went into, kind of how one might feel after you do, when you're doing the Wheel of the Year or you're celebrating the seasons. And then you have Halloween, which is, pretty much, a spiritual new year. You have Samhain, and then it just like until Yule, everything's really dormant. And if you're like me and you like to make monthly themes, or just kind of points that you want to cover when you're doing your practice and journaling, and just what you're trying to be mindful of, I find that it's just easier to have themes, personally. So I was really thinking about it. November is a harvest month. It's one where there's a lot of different, it's kind of an in-betweener type of month, and not just because where it is in sort of the pagan wheel of the year. But if you think about, Hecate's Day is supposed to be in November. There's festivals to Kali Puja, um, or Kali Puja in India, and you have, sort of, even when you look at just agricultural and folk practices, where this is when animals are being slaughtered, final crops are being harvested and processed and prepared for winter, and there's this almost this the dying off of many things, and the sort of preparation. And one thing that I think may be helpful for some folks who are very much dumbstruck about what the future may hold, um, and folks who are kind of confused on how the next 100 days are going to go, um, and what, this new America under President Trump, which, if you're like me and you've seen The Apprentice, and you grow up on the Eastern Seaboard, so you've been to Atlantic City. Um, and one year, like in like '93, I think, when my grandma, like, 'cause she was notorious for never preparing for Christmas, so she'd buy things on the night before when all the good presents are gone. She like bought us Trump the board game. So it kind of, I don't know, it kind of still feels like this country took, like, had an acid trip or something featuring Donald Trump in the Electoral College. So, if you're kind of confused like I am, because I do work for a nonprofit, so Obamacare, government grants, community programming, different things like that are essential to my clients and things like that. You might be wondering, where's my grant going to go? So, in just thinking about what could happen, what changes, because anytime that there is a change in regime that is this dramatic, there's just going to be a difference in priorities. Um, the Obama administration was really interested in education and housing and things like that. And in young people, which that's who I work with. So we'll see if a Trump administration will have similar priorities in investing in communities and things like that. But so that's sort of, but that's kind of what November is about, I suppose, in a lot of ways when you think about it. Seasonally in the northern hemisphere, there is a lot of uncertainty because you can prepare quite well for the future, for winter, but there could be mistakes or happenstance. I recently on my Tumblr I posted a recipe that I did um, for marigold oil. And I had done oil infusions before, but I am, a beginner at it. And I harvested all these marigolds, like I had seeds and pods, and then, I put, of course, the petals in the oil. And even though because they're gonna die off soon, even in Arizona, things kind of wither away. So I was really hoping to keep those. But somewhere along the way, either it's the bottles that I got off Amazon, me just not doing it right, or combination, or most likely user error. Um, Even though I did prepare and had good intentions, these infused oils, they look grody right now. They've got definitely gone south. Um, but that is something that happens. No matter how you can prepare, sometimes things um, go kind of kablooey. So in light of that, and those sort of themes in November, the sacrifice aspects, this death aspect, this harvesting, this reaping what you sow, this kind of having to see what you harvested and make the most of it. If you think about the first Thanksgiving in America, if you actually look at the history, it's pretty grim. Just a bunch of desperate, starving people. And then, of course, the subsequent history, you know, is kind of dolled up, but, not that great either. But that's kind of it. There's a duality in this month, in just kind of the pendulum, if you will, swinging the other way. We've gone out of the abundance of summer. We're swiftly going, into the dying off that is winter. So, what I'm going to do in my practice is incorporate a lot of those themes: death, sacrifice. Um, but I'm also, while there is a lot of that sort of nature of the culling and the harvest, I'm going to try to put myself more focusing on preparations. Yes, I made these infused oil, um, and it went bad. But I still have some more marigolds. I'm going to try this again. I'm going to prepare. Um, but I'm also going to be a lot more mindful of the inner work that I need to do, because there is that part where, you do have to, you're putting things in, the cellar, you're reaching into the ground, pulling things out. You're going into the woods for the last hunt. You know, there's a lot of symbolism of going into the wilderness, finding out what you can, and going inside. So, definitely one thing to think about if you're struggling for how to work themes in November into your practice. It never hurts to go inside. And this, while it doesn't really have anything to do with November, I decided to, since this is also a time where people are inside more, people might be reading more or getting, kind of acquainted with stories. I mean, even our ancestors, that's what they spent their times in winter doing, when they were not able to go and do agriculture or hunt. This is the time to tell stories. So, in light of that, I redesigned my altar. So, it's very much pop culture. I have The Witch and Snow White from this really awesome Etsy shop called Once Upon a Chalkboard. This guy just like does these awesome chalk renditions of different Disney things. This one's a print, but it's on pretty good cardboard, so I love it. I got that at Comic Con in my local city. And then I also have a bar of soap that is dragon's blood. It smells really good. It's in the shape of the Millennium Falcon because I'm cooking up a Han Solo confidence spell. Um, I might share that another time. And then I have, and that's in a crystal grid with a bunch of with three of these Harry Potter snow globes, these little mini ones. This one says Potions Riddle, and they're all from the first book when Harry and Hermione and Ron are going through all those like puzzles to find the Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone, depending on where you're from. So I redesigned that in just the thought of storytelling. Maybe that could also be something for you to incorporate to your journaling and things like that. So those are just a little bit of my thoughts on November and ideas of how you can kind of work the themes this month into your, spiritual practice. It'd be interesting to hear what you guys are doing in the comments and just your thoughts. Have a good one.